Motion?
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we are open. It's a meeting of the Finance Committee. Good evening, everybody. It's Wednesday, March 22nd, 2023. This meeting is being video and audio recorded. We're going to say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay. So tonight, we're going to start our budget deliberations. Before we get into that, though, I'd like to have get an update from Mr. Kelly with regards to where we stand right now. Due to technical difficulties, we're going to go into a temporary recess right now. Is there a motion to do that?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we are in recess right now. Okay, we are back live. Do we have a motion to reopen our meeting of the Finance Committee?
So motion?
Second? Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we are back open. Mr. Kelly.
Mr. Chairman, just to go over the schedule, the articles are due by March 24th, Friday. The Board of Selectmen is due for their final vote on or before April 24th. The warrant will be posted May 5th, advertised May 11th and May 18th, and the meeting, the annual town meeting, is May 22nd. I've provided you tonight with a mock-up of the articles as far as the numbers, what articles are within the consent agenda, what articles concern reserve accounts, the capital CPC articles, the operating budget and enterprise funds, miscellaneous articles, the zoning articles, and I put one placeholder just at the end of the draft, warrant draft that I've also provided you. On the Excel sheet, I show the funding sources as I know it now for a number of the articles where CPC met last night, so I haven't had a chance to sit down with them to look at what they voted and if they have to vote another time. I haven't had an update from them. I was out getting medical tests during the day today.
So there's no CPC in this?
Yes. Not yet.
Okay. Do we have any idea what might be in it?
You're looking at up to probably $13,000 in administrative costs. These are what is mandated, has to be done each year. Open space, $26,000. Historical preservation, $26,000, and housing, community housing, $26,000 if there are requests. There's, of course, the undesignated balance, which if the CPC determines, they can fund projects out of that.
Okay.
As you can see, a number of the articles have free cash costs. Total free cash was 1,354,903. And the proposed use of free cash is $1,317,481, or $482 to round up. We can go over that. There's also an approval of a collective bargaining agreement. It has no cost in the first year. A signing bonus was paid out of ARPA funds. It's 2% in each of the subsequent years.
So if we have,
That's just generally,
Right.
I think we can go over.
so if we have some more articles come in before the deadline of the 24th, there's not a lot left here to fund anything else that comes in.
Not in free cash.
Right. So what would the source be?
And then again,
So some of these.
These are articles, a number of them that have been discussed before your board and before the Board of Selectmen. Any other articles coming in have not been discussed by either board. And as you know, the warrant is the Board of Selectmen's. So I don't know if they'll fund any other articles or put them on the warrant. There have been no citizen petitions as of yet.
Okay, where do we stand with health insurance?
With both health insurance and the other insurances, we're waiting for one bidder to come in on the other insurances, the liability insurance, the IOD, et cetera. On health insurance, I've met with our consultant. We do not have a signed copy yet, but we do have a proposal that we're discussing that is less than the original Harvard proposal. If I put a figure on it, I don't want to jinx myself, but it's enough that we're getting very close to a balanced budget. We had to provide additional information on 2 catastrophic cases. And I would say right now we're within $100,000 of a balanced budget, or slightly less.
Before or after including this, sorry, is that before or after including this reduced health insurance?
Including this reduced health insurance.
So in essence, though, at a minimum, we're 100 short.
And from what I see, I'm very close. Because I think they will take into account the 2 catastrophic cases that are leaving our books by July 1.
That should help.
Huh?
I said that should help.
As long as we don't get any others.
So even with those cases off the books, it's still going to be short by about 100,000?
No. If I get, in my discussions with them, it'll be very close.
Very close to being balanced. Okay. Well, that's important for us to know here as a group, because, we're going to start voting on making recommendations on these budgets. So that's kind of why I wanted to get a sense of where we're at right now as far as a potential deficit.
And I'm sorry, I'm still, I want to make sure, right? Because I thought, Mr. Kelly, I asked, at a minimum, with this reduced health insurance, we're still 100,000 off. And 100,000 to me is still that's not very close.
No.
No, but what I'm saying, right now, we're about 100,000 off. If I get what I want in my discussions with them,
Then we're very close, okay.
then we're very close.
Manageable.
Their first figure took us from about 170 to just below 100. And then we started talking about individual cases. And that's without a plan design change.
All right, so what we'd like to do tonight is we're going to take the easier budgets and make our vote and recommendations on those. We've done that in the past, Mr. St. Jean.
Yes.
And then anything, if we have any questions on any budgets, we'll hold them. If anybody wants to hold it, we just say hold.
Mhm.
We'll hold it until next week. Maybe by next week, we'll have a better idea where we're at with the health insurance too. You know, because I'd like to have like a solid number that,
A manageable figure.
no, and we know what it is,
Mhm.
you know. So I think we're probably gonna hold off on making any recommendations on any of the bigger budgets tonight. We're gonna go through all the relatively easy ones.
Just to let the FinCom know, it's going to be on the 28th, an MOU with AFSCME. They asked for a classification study on one position. Turned out that the clerical positions, senior clerk and clerk, there's no rhyme nor reason for why an individual is put in either as equated to the duties they do. So the Board of Selectmen has before it an MOU to do away with the clerk position and just have junior clerk, senior clerk, and AFSCME. That will make a realignment in a couple, like 4 positions of around $1,700 to $1,800.
Total or per position?
Per position. It'll be under 10,000 total. But it makes sense because we had people classified as clerk doing senior clerk work, and we had people classified as senior clerk doing clerk work. And there was no rationale other than at some point someone must have just said, oh, we're going to use this designation. And the job descriptions were almost 20 years out of date.
That's probably where the confusion was.
Part of it, especially when they talk about it operating a mimeograph machine.
The 70s called, they want the mimeograph machine back. Goes back. I could resist. Hmm? Zero.
ready to go? I'd say we start, why don't we start with, I actually want to hold, believe it or not, I want to hold our budget because I have a question. So let's go right to moderator. Actually, we can go to reserve fund. Let's take that up, which is under number 1 in the tab. So in our reserve fund, it's been pretty stable for the last, going back to 2021, we've allocated $150,000 in the reserve fund, and that's what we have for fiscal '24. Board of Selectmen also recommended that amount as well.
I'll make a motion. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the reserve fund budget? Being no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? No one's opposed. Okay, so reserve fund is recommended in the amount of $150,000, similar to where it was last year. Okay, next, town moderator. Looks level funded from last year in the amount of $875. There's no changes on there.
Make a motion.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion of the moderator budget? Being no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. Moderator budget is recommended at the amount of $875. Actually, I didn't realize there was additional pages here. Is 875 the correct amount? It
Yes.
is. So it's not 825 because I'm looking
No.
down. Okay. All right, so we're all set with that one. Let's take up, let's take up the Board of Selectmen. We can go through, let's go with legal. Let's start with the legal portion of that budget. So the request is for $107,000. The Board of Selectmen has recommended that amount. It's up from last year where it was at $84,500. But I believe we're budgeting more in there this year because we've had more legal expenses in town.
Actually, we transferred $10,000 for the tax title attorney fees from the treasurer's office into this office because it's really legal expenses and it shouldn't have been in the treasurer collector's office. And then you have the $17,000 for land court. With our collection of uncollected real estate taxes, we're going to be using that over the next couple of years. And that used to be part of how you balance the deficit in the legal expenses, which you had in the past budgeted at $67,500, and over the last 2 years you were averaging 160 and 178,000. So we put some up in legal expenses and then kept the land court and transferred in the tax title fees. And that's how you came to the 107.
And I had a notation on this from, I think you had mentioned this, Mr. Kelly. There's still some unpaid collected taxes out there, correct? And anything that gets collected will go into free cash?
Correct.
Okay. And I think what I had down was that so far 120,000 has been collected. That was the amount that was given to us.
Up to, I believe, 170.
So it's grown since then? Okay.
And it'll keep growing because you have to do the various tax years in a block.
If we go back to the prior page on the Board of Selectmen.
Did you
under-
vote on that?
No, on the Select Board. I want to actually hold that one. So we'll hold that one. Let's go to town buildings and properties. So the request and the Board of Selectmen recommendation is set at $259,009. That is an increase from last year's budget of $216,823.
Make a motion.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on this budget? I think we were provided with an explanation as to the main reason why this budget increased was I believe the custodial line item.
Combination of positions.
Yeah, it was combined, so that's what increased this budget. Otherwise, if it wasn't for that, it would be essentially level with last year.
Yep.
So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Being no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Anyone opposed? Okay, this budget is recommended in the amount of $259,009. Okay, next I have street lighting. The street lighting is up 5,000 from last year, so 25. It's recommended at 25,000 compared to 20,000 last year. It's obviously due to increase in electricity rates. So
Also,
Purchase it.
there was nothing in the budget in the past for repairs.
Yeah.
So we included some money for repairs.
on street lights and.
Have all the lights been LED? Have they all been swapped out, do you know?
I believe so.
Most of them, yeah. There's a couple that are out there.
But the real problem is if a pole is hit,
Yeah, we're on the hook for it.
the pole will be repaired.
I know, because I live down the road.
And then we have to put
It took us over a year to get the
the
light
lights
replaced.
back up on poles.
Yeah.
It was, I guess when they took it over, it was
They have to
something
wait
they
for a certain
didn't
number
think
of them to
about.
come in before they'll go out and fix them all.
This is a pecking order too, I think, in terms of what wires get replaced first and then we're last or something like that.
Well, it's the company, whoever owns the pole, most of them
Right.
will leave our device on the ground. And then we have to go get it and then have someone go and put it back up.
Yeah.
We back charge the insurance company, right?
We would have, usually it's not the damage to our device, it's our friendly Verizon that has the damage to the pole.
I'll make a
So as
motion.
long as we get the device quickly, we can do it. We've had one or two.
We have a motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. I just wanted to add one more thing under discussion. The other reason why this budget is increased compared to last year was because of the line item added of R&M buildings and grounds at $8,000. So that's also increased this a little bit.
That should just be, and it'll be R&M, repair and maintenance.
Okay.
Because that's of the fixtures, not the buildings.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Being no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No opposed, so the street lighting budget is recommended at the amount of $25,000. I have inspectional services in this category. Is that where you would put that?
I can discuss it. It should be standalone. I didn't hear that.
You need to mute.
Uh,
I don't know if they have a question in there.
Somebody up, is there a David that has a question? No? Okay.
Everything's muted.
Yeah, does everybody have the inspectional services page?
Yep.
Yeah, I included, in my binder, I included that in the Board of Selectmen budget, because there wasn't a separate
Section for it.
tab for it, so
Mhm.
I just put it in there. So their budget, the recommendation is at $143,533,
Mhm.
which is actually decreased from last year. Last year's budget was $163,729.
Can you read that figure again, please?
We had adjusted it because there was some adjustments made. Specifically, we'll go over that right now. The line item of building inspections originally was set at 400, and then that was bumped up to 800. The line item training and testing was originally at 700, that got bumped up to 1,200.
Mhm.
And office supplies went from 1,340 to 3,550. That's what I had.
That's for the hard copy of the code. That's the increase
The
there.
plumbing, the gas codes, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Yep.
Yes. So
It's for the
that-
hard copy of the codes,
Yep.
because we have nothing.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And so expenses were,
Expenses,
total,
so you want to take that one?
Got it, give me 30 seconds.
just to make sure we're agreeing.
I get expenses at 19,500. Well, something doesn't add up to the 143,533 though.
No,
I get 1,200, 800, 300, 400, 1,000, 1,200, 3,550, 200, and 500. 19,950, forgive me, for expenses. Still off, still off
okay,
40 bucks.
1,200, 800, 300, 400, 11,000, 1,200, 2,200.
2,200 and you have for the office supplies?
Yes,
I have 3,550, which is what you
That's what I
had.
had.
all right.
So
Yeah.
12,000.
I think the 2,200 was the amount it increased, that line item increased by that much.
Yeah. 12,000,
That's the difference.
yep. Yeah, 19,950 for expenses.
So what's our final number? Is it,
Added with the others, 143,493,
okay,
as opposed to 143,533.
so 143,493?
Yeah, which is actually the number that I had written down originally. and
Okay, so I was
changed it.
off a little bit, okay.
533 is the number that was, when we were doing quick additions, I think that's the number to come
Okay.
up with.
Okay, so we have a final,
And the salaries are 123,543.
Right, that's not changed. I didn't have any notations changing.
you're right, I didn't have any notations in that either.
All right.
So the final number is set at 143,493.
Yes.
I'll make a motion.
We have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Being no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Anyone's opposed? Okay, so inspectional services passes and is recommended in the amount of $143,493. Gonna go back to miscellaneous. So miscellaneous is actually decreased compared to last year. So we are recommending 13,500 this year compared to 20,500 last year. So the difference in this, well, there was a $2,000 difference. The Lake Street improvement, do you want to comment on that?
That's, the Board of Selectmen removed it because that was, the Lake Street article is paying for the work at Lake Street.
That's right.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Being no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. So miscellaneous budget is recommended in the amount of $13,500. Next in this category, I have sealer of weights and measures. Everybody have that? Everyone all set?
Yeah.
Okay, so this budget is level funded, like it has the last several years, dating back to 2021, in the amount of $1,169.
Make a motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, any discussion? Being no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, this budget passes and is recommended in the amount of $1,169 for sealers, weights, and measures.
Who is that? In town? Do you know?
I'll have to get back to you.
Yeah.
Machado is, Teddy Machado.
Is it?
The sealer?
Yeah.
Yeah, Teddy Machado. He also does the Bedford and a number of other communities.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I thought every town had to have their own.
You have your own, but you can contract.
Oh.
They're a small group, that does the whole Commonwealth.
Oh, really?
Yeah, usually it's, you're right, it's half a dozen to sometimes 20 towns, depending on, like out west and stuff. Just the equipment alone is going to be interesting to afford. You could afford it as an individual amount of money.
All right, next in this category, I have cable. Everyone have that?
Yes.
Okay, the
Between the
cable?
cable.
Yep. So the cable budget is level funded with last year at 190,000.
Make a motion.
This,
Second.
Sorry.
that's okay, I was just gonna, all right, so we have a motion, I just wanted to, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, under discussion, Mr. Kelly, going back to 2021 and 2022, and this budget was a lot less.
Mhm.
So what's dramatically changed?
Well, I assume back 20, in the COVID years, you didn't have as much expenditure, but now you do have expenditure, equipment expenditure.
Yeah, the report shows actual, so that's just actual that was spent for the year. It's always budgeted because it's receipts reserved, so anything that's not used just dumps back into the fund.
Okay.
So even though that much is budgeted, not that much is
And it's an
spent.
article. It's your public access.
Yeah, because if we're looking back at this, back in 2022, the actual budget ended up at 42,255.
And it's receipts, right?
Yeah. So you only see the actual of what was actually spent that year.
It doesn't hit the bottom line on the
It
budget.
doesn't impact, it doesn't
Yeah.
in any way help us balance.
It's its own fund.
That, because that was kind of going there with that. So I'm just saying, I'm like looking at this and I'm like, so why are we budgeting so much if we're not even going to come close to spending that much?
It's not our money.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's not our revenue.
When they changed how you have to budget a few years ago, there was never a budget for it. So you have to at least have some number in. So
Okay.
that number allows it so that obviously you're not going to spend all of that. But like say we only budgeted 10,000, we can only spend 10,000. So that it's
Okay.
kind of just a placeholder.
So you gotta shoot high.
Yeah.
But again, it doesn't
It's-
help us
it's-
balance the budget.
Yeah, because it all
Doesn't-
goes.
Snow and
Yeah.
ice.
Yeah.
And
So-
Comcast, right? Comcast, right?
It's cable.
Okay.
So does this get turned back?
Into its fund.
In,
Yeah, into the cable access receipts reserve fund.
okay.
It's self-funding.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
the
Okay.
franchise
It pays for
fee.
itself. We get the revenue and the revenue.
If you, like, let's say, put together over a number of years, an account that had the money in it, you could build a studio with it.
I
And
think
that
that's
was the intent
That's how they
originally.
did the school, I think, right? You do a studio with this, yeah.
Yeah,
And it was
a few
done-
years ago.
It was done out of this.
I just want to point that out and, question everything because that's our job here. And, residents see this on town floor, they'll be like, hey, why is that so much higher, right? So there has to be a good explanation for that. So someone will need to speak to that on the town floor if it comes up. Okay, so we had a motion.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? No discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. No one's opposed? Cable reserve is set at 190,000. Next in this category, I have regional government expenses. We have it, it's recommended, the Board of Selectmen recommendation, in the amount of $3,723, compared to last year's budget, which was set at $3,610. So a very nominal increase there.
It's our dues to various organizations like Serpent.
And the Buzzards Bay Commission.
Make a motion.
We have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Being no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, regional expenses is recommended and passes in the amount of $3,723. All right, let's see. Mr. Kelly, did we ever get a town accountant?
I
budget?
can
Is that,
talk to it.
because I couldn't find it in my, like anywhere.
It's not in the book, and I'm looking through
Right, I don't
what
think
we've
we
got
ever got.
handed. I don't remember
think
seeing
we ever
town
received
accountant.
anyone with town accountant. So, I mean, if that's not,
We'll,
we can hold that.
yeah, hold it, we'll provide it to you.
Okay, so let's
I
hold.
did not know you did not.
We don't have that one in here. All right, so we're gonna hold that.
Selectmen held that one in treasures because of the consultants.
That still should have come.
All right, so let's go on to Board of Assessors. I have that next in the tabs under tab number 5.
Okay. Dr. Boucher, what's the green shaded number for the,
It looks like 141.
thank you.
For what?
Yes.
There's a green highlighted number next to the Board of Assessors.
I didn't know which,
Trying to find my copy. No,
All set?
I'll set, sorry.
That's all right,
Apologies.
no problem. Okay, so under Board of Assessors, the total amount recommended by the Board of Selectmen is in the amount of $182,629. That's a 1.34% increase compared to last year. If we look at their, under salaries, there's an approximately $2,000 increase there, mainly to step and COLA adjustments. And then under expenses, their expenses are level funded.
It's under a 2% increase.
Yeah.
I'll
And
make a
it's contractual.
recommendation.
The only
Yeah,
increase
it's
is
just-
required.
it's
There's
contractual, so
nothing we can
it's-
do there. I'll make a motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? No further discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No one's opposed, so the Board of Assessors budget is recommended in the amount of $182,629. Okay, so I think we're gonna hold treasurer collector because we don't have
Nope,
we don't have that in
one
the
either.
binder. Technology, I did not come across
No.
anything with that, so we're gonna hold that. I think, then so under, we can go to town meeting and elections. Under, that is under tab 8, I believe. So we'll start with town clerk. So if we look at their increases, the salary increases, it looks like it's mainly due to
Steps and
and COLA.
Mhm.
So they're,
That one's one of the ones that's going to be adjusted. Because of the AFSCME change, clerk versus senior clerk.
so this one's gonna be adjusted. Do we know when, how?
As soon as the board votes on it, but I can get you the tentative change by Friday.
You want to hold it?
All right, so let's hold this one then, since there's gonna be a minor change here. All right, so hold town clerk. I think we can take up town meetings and elections. That is recommended in the amount of $18,764, compared to last year where it was $14,280.
That election.
But there's an extra
Election.
election, so that accounts for that.
Yep.
Make a motion?
We have a
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? No discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, so the town meetings and elections is recommended in the amount of $18,764. Board of Registrars, is there gonna be, Mr. Kelly, is there gonna be anything,
No change.
no changes with that? Okay. So, it looks like it's actually decreased a little bit compared to last year. So, the recommendation is in the amount of $24,979. Compared to last year's budget where it was at $25,054. So it's very, very similar. It's essentially level funded.
I'll make a motion.
We have a motion.
Second.
Is there a second? Any discussion? No discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, Board of Registrars' budget is recommended in the amount of $24,979. All right, next one I have under tab number 9 is Conservation. So as you can see, the conservation recommendation for 2024 is significantly less than last year. FY24, the recommendation is set at $61,152
I'm
compared.
sorry, 61 or 60?
61,152 compared to last year where it was at 84,525. So it's,
It's $1,000 overtime increase.
That was, we removed 23,000 out of the budget,
the MS4.
which was the MS4 compliance. We put it in an article. It's an article for 50,000 this year. We need some engineering done. We need the reports written to comply with the MS4. So it'll be under the Board of Selectmen's purview, the town administrator, to have the engineering firm come in and do it. on behalf of Concom.
So that's essentially the difference, the main difference in this budget is the MS4
Correct.
permit being taken out.
But would we need to put something back next year? Is this something that we need to worry about annually, or
It
how
would-
often do we need to worry about it?
We are looking at that, but if it comes back next year, it would be in an article.
Again, as
Yes.
well. I just want to make sure that we're not taking something
We're
that should
also-
be in the budget that,
We're also building up a stabilization fund for that too, because at some point you hit a milestone, and what was 25,000 becomes 100,000.
Right.
I make a motion?
Okay, we have a motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? No discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, so conservation budget is recommended in the amount of $61,152. Okay, next, in the tabs, number 10, soil board. It's actually decreased from last year by $600, so the recommended amount is at $1,500 compared to $2,100 from last year.
It's a no-brainer. I'll make a motion.
Second?
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. Soil board budget is recommended in the amount of $1,500. Okay, next, it looks like planning. Mr. Kelly, is there gonna, anticipating any changes with planning?
The Board of Selectmen needs to formally vote on this, but it looks like it will be bottom line will be 90,500,
But they haven't voted on
not formally.
it. Is
So-
that-
So the bottom, and the reduction is coming out of,
There's move to technology, and the clerical position is decreasing to 9,500, and the increase in town planner is to 75,000.
So that is staying. So we're gonna keep,
Well, if the board formally votes that way.
but 75,000 is what we need to bring in a full-time town planner with qualifications to.
Correct.
do what we need. Okay.
Town planner, grant writer, master plan updater.
Somebody can help get the town all the money it can possibly get from the state. Yep.
So is that a realistic number there? At the 75,000 for that position? Because it was budgeted last year at 53,300.
75,000 is what we're going to be advertising at for someone with a degree and 1 to 3 years experience. As long as the ad is right now before the planning board for review.
So there's been no advertising of this as of yet.
No,
Because we need to vote at that level in order to be able to advertise.
if the boards vote, then I can advertise in good conscience. I wouldn't want to advertise and have people come in for interviews if there is no broad-based support for it.
No, you gotta wait until July to do that, right?
There's enough money that you could hire someone right now.
Oh, I see what you're doing, see back.
Because we haven't been paying a planner for a
Right.
while. So
Yeah.
there's money in the budget.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
haven't had a planner.
Right.
Correct,
We need that fixed,
yes,
like yesterday.
like last
Last
week,
week.
Like realistically, we needed that fixed well before because
2 years ago.
we can't
a full-time planner at 53,000 was an unrealistic expectation that we could keep somebody at that level. We need to have this fixed.
If you have something that's not in the marketplace,
You're never gonna get anybody.
or you'll get someone that will use it as a resume filler for 3 to 6 months and leave.
And what happened? And what actually happened is we had that, right?
So my other question with this position, is this gonna be a full-time 40-hour position?
Full-time 35.
Full-time 35
With benefits.
with benefits?
Is that a union position? Is that a union position?
It is on the list of the new unit.
Oh, okay.
I'd say let's hold this one for now. Everybody okay with that?
Hmm?
All right, next one, tab number 12, Board of Appeals. So the recommended amount is in the amount of $6,150, which is level funded with last year, same amount.
Motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, so the Board of the Appeals Board budget is recommended in the amount of $6,150. All right, so the next one, and it's a pretty big one, is the police budget. And it looks like, we have still some unknowns in here.
We're gonna hold that one?
I think we should hold this one. Just partly because of, the potential shortfall in the overtime line item. I think we're gonna need some more clarity with that. So let's hold off on this one for now.
Is there any other issue that the board would like clarity on?
I mean, right now, it's actually a drop. But
Well, my concern,
Yeah,
my
this-
my concern with this, and I think this was a concern of the chief, was that there's potentially gonna be a shortfall of $150,000
yeah.
in the overtime line item. So if we don't budget for that, how are we gonna cover that later on?
In the past, you cover it through various other subsidiary accounts within the police budget, or you see the transfers in the budget in general in May to cover it.
Could potentially be.
And that's what you've done historically,
Mhm.
I've been told, for at least 10 years.
This budget is so minimum, it's gonna be hard to scrape up any money, especially 150
Yeah.
grand out of this particular budget. I mean, it's bare bones as it is.
Mhm.
I mean, what are you gonna do, take out another car? That gets us into trouble when we do that. We can't do that.
Oh,
The vehicles,
I don't think we should take anything out of this budget.
Yeah.
It'd be the opposite for me.
Where we
It's
find
Just,
it.
right, I know.
We got,
That's the problem.
And you've got to remember, the operation has been so impacted by folks that were called up for armed service.
Mhm.
And the new hires that are just coming online after academy and field training. So I agree with you. It's a very...
It's a delicate balance, but I agree with
Yeah.
Mr. St. Jean. The problem is, if, you know, the comment was made, this is historically short by $150,000. That's a lot of money to try and catch, to make up on a budget of $2.6 million. $150,000 is pretty sizable
But you,
percentage, so.
with the folks coming back from their time at the armed forces,
The overtime will be.
and the new hires that are all within this
Yeah.
budget, I would say it's something to watch, but it might be something to put aside until next year when things are clearer. And you can see when you have full staffing, what you're going to be able to do.
Is it possible to just get an understanding of what the economics that were used to come up with the 260? X number of personnel, X number of overtime shifts to cover X number of call-ins, sick, deployment, retirees, something like that?
Chief, he's done,
I'm sure-
memos. He can put a memo together for the,
Yeah. Just a little something to understand how the 260 and how comfortable.
it's underfunded, we all agree. It's
Okay.
underfunded. It's seriously underfunded.
Well, if we look back at 2023, the overtime, it looks like they utilized 255,000. But 2022.
No, that's original budget, so we don't even know what 23 really would be.
That's true, yeah.
It's the
That's right.
last number we have is
That's right, yeah.
473 at 2020.
Right, so that was a big number in 2022,
Mhm.
and also a big number in 2021 at 390.
And the number that was picked out of the sky as this being deficient, and it literally was, a put back in the envelope was 150,000.
Historically, we've had this issue year after year after year. The chiefs, over the past years, come in and, well, we're gonna get staffing, we're gonna get this, we're gonna have, you know, recruits coming in from the academies, we're gonna put them in service. And
Doesn't
then
happen.
3 months down the road, they're transferring to another department.
Yeah.
We can't seem to maintain police officers in this community.
Seems to be a stepping stone,
We have
I think.
we have a core group that stay here, but otherwise, I can't imagine how many good, solid police officers that we've lost to other communities.
And I've never heard of a police force that's the size of this police force, to have 3 people called up for our service in the armed forces at the same time.
We're just that lucky.
Yep.
And 1 or 2 of those have had multiple call-ups.
Mhm.
So we're gonna table this?
Yeah,
Dr.
we're
Boucher?
gonna hold this one.
To get better clarity?
Yeah.
You want a memo from the chief?
Yeah, I mean, just whatever he's used already to come up with that number would be helpful. Because this is worrisome, I agree with Dr. Boucher and
Maybe
Mr.
we
St.
could ask
James.
the chief to come in when we get to that point that we're gonna really nail this down. Perhaps, you know, the chief coming in would be beneficial.
Could be next week,
Yeah.
yeah?
So perhaps we could extend that invitation to the chief to come in.
Yeah. So, Mr. St. Jean, you want to reach out to him?
Pardon?
You want to reach out to him?
I can, sure.
Okay.
If we have the meeting here, it might be easier for him.
Yeah, right.
True. All right, next, the tabs is fire and EMS. It's tab number 14. Let's just take a quick peek at that. See if you have any questions.
thinking here, I understand the reduction in the fire chief, because we have a new fire chief.
Right.
But the reduction in the full-time position from 524 budgeted last year to 505, is that because we have younger personnel?
Oh, yeah.
Newer folks, okay, as long
Half,
as.
half the force is,
Yeah. Oh,
So, yeah, so they'll eventually get up there with their steps and all that. Yeah, so if we look at this, the salaries, what's recommended in 2024, 902,496. Last year, if we go back to 2022, they were budgeted at 949. So there's definitely a decrease in the salaries right now. As far as expenses go, there was one, it looks like there was a portion of the was it the telephone?
telephone
The
was
telephone was
moved
moved
to
to technology,
technology.
okay.
Mhm.
So that was about, $5,000 difference there.
Yeah, because they're on the town system now, I believe.
And then there's no line item for quality assurance program. Looks like it's
it's
zeroed
gonna be
out.
done in-house.
That's-
Is that a good idea?
It's the way a lot of the departments are going now, because you also have the fact the EMTs have to do rounds at the hospitals and get training from the doctor there for their certification.
Yes, overall, the fire EMS department, I mean, their budget is, overall, it's down 0.65%. So the recommended amount by Mr. Kelly is $1,110,986.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
We have a motion second. Any further discussion? No discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. No one opposed? Okay, so the fire EMS department budget, we are recommending in the amount of $1,110,986. I did have a notation here on my sheet with regards to the article that's going to be presented by fire, right, for the tanker 1.
Yep.
I think they had in the amount of 425.
465.
465?
Mhm.
Mhm.
All right, EMA. So it looks like EMA salaries are up a little bit. Is that contractual?
It's because it's actually putting them where they belong, because in the past, the shelter salaries were accessed to pay the staff, and that shelter salaries should be segregated. And only if we open the shelter should that be used.
Yeah, so that's only up about $200. So it's recommended in the amount of $4,000 compared to $37.99 last year, which was originally budgeted. Under expenses, the expenses have actually decreased compared to last year because some things have been moved. 3 line items have been moved to technology. So the EMA recommended budget by the town administrator is in the amount of $16,400, which is a reduction of 12% compared to last year. And the reduction is mainly due to 3 of these line items being moved into technology.
Make a motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? No further discussion. All in favor?
Aye. Abstain.
Any? Okay, we have one abstention. No opposition. Just as a side note, we did get a lot of explanation on the police and fire department budgets added in from the, Chief Richmond and from Chief Farland. So they went into, great explanation in detail with each of their line items. So if anybody has any questions, you can always refer back to what was provided to us. Okay, next in the tabs I have
Animal control.
yeah, so we just did, how come I missed building?
Animal control.
Yeah, I'm just, after fire, I have number 15 building, but,
That's the inspectional services.
so we already covered
We-
that.
we did
Okay,
that.
so we covered that already, okay. All right, covered EMA, so we're on to animal control, number 17. Yeah, Rebecca came in and, gave us a very easy budget, very little change compared to last year. Almost level funded with last year's budget. The recommended amount is in the amount of $57,008 compared to last year's original budget of $56,908.
Make a motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? No discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
No one's opposed. So the animal control budget is recommended by us in the amount of $57,008. Next in the tabs, number 18, forestry. Forestry is up by $2,000. Was originally budgeted in '23 at the amount of $17,000. We are recommending $19,000 this year.
We segregated out the police detail money from the actual forestry money. Just looking at the amount of work that needs to be done and the fact that we were paying for less forestry because we had to have the police details, because forestry takes care of the dead and dangerous trees that are within our right-of-way. We do not do it for the private individual. So if it's within our right-of-way, very likely it's going to need a police detail.
Yes. If you're on Middle Road and you're driving down towards the schools, I always go into this big, huge tree, and there's a huge limb that goes across, and it's like that, and that tree looks like it's pretty damn old. And I'm like, I hope that sucker doesn't fall.
Doesn't
anyways.
Eversource handle those that go through the power lines?
Eversource will handle it if it impacts on the power
Yeah,
line
go through the power
itself.
lines and stuff like that. I think it should be all.
But if it's something that, if the branch, if the tree is dangerous but has no branches that might impact on the power line, then Eversource won't take care of it.
Right.
Yeah, you're right about that. It actually happened on my street a couple years ago. The telephone pole, bunch of branches coming out in between all the wires. So me and my neighbor, we'd end up losing power pretty easily. And it was always because of these branches, hitting the wires all the time. So we eventually were able to get Eversource out there, and they took care of it.
Right.
My neighbor was gonna take care of it, but I told him, I said, hey, I said, that, don't go up there and do that with the way he wanted to do it. I was like, I don't think that's a good idea.
It might be lit up like a Christmas
Yeah, exactly.
light.
Yeah,
And they'll only do like anything that's gonna affect the power lines themselves.
Yeah.
So if you see the branches coming through like your cable,
They were-
TV, and stuff, they won't touch those.
they actually, we were able to convince them to do it a little bit
Lower?
extra, just, I'm like, hey, while you're up there, can you just get that one and, you know, just,
You had them
they
proning?
were already up there. So, you know, so it's all
While you're
clean,
there.
it was all cleaned up.
Yeah.
Will you ask nicely?
Yeah, if you ask me.
Oh, yeah, that's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys want a cup of coffee, you know, that kind of
Did
thing.
you get my arborvitae's? That's a little.
So do we have a vote on?
All right, we're gonna, do we have a motion on this?
Motion.
Second.
Motion and a second, any discussion? No discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, forestry budget is recommended in the amount of 19,000. All right. In my binder, I have, well, we have education. Let's hold off on
Yeah,
on
hold
both,
on.
on Old Colony and our schools tonight. So we'll hold that. Let's go on to highway, DPW Highway Department.
That has a position that will be affected by the change.
Okay,
Hold
so,
that.
all right, so we'll hold this one, highway. All right, how about sewer? Mr. Kelly, anticipating any changes in the I mean, it looks like, your recommendation is actually less than what was originally budgeted last year. Oh, I'm sorry, it's a small increase. After a while, these numbers get smaller and smaller, the more you look at them.
It will not be a lot, but there will be a slight change.
Slight change in this one.
I'd ask that you hold.
All right, so we'll hold sewer as well. So if we're gonna hold that, well, then we're just gonna hold water as well.
Have you got to snow and ice yet?
No, we have CMAS in here too.
Yeah.
That will not be affected.
So CMAS isn't gonna be affected by anything. All right, let's take a look at this one. So there's a contractual increase in the salary line item. Same thing under recycling. And, yeah, incinerator, CMAS, that's a contractual adjustment, as well as trash and recycling, hauling, another contractual increase. So the increases in this budget are all contractual,
Except for the equipment rental.
except for that's right, the equipment
And,
rental.
I'm trying to see if I can,
I didn't have a notation on that. Mr. Kelly, what was there was a $10,000 increase in the equipment rental.
I think it was, I'm trying to find it.
That was usage and increased cost.
The grinder and the shredder and the crusher.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's what it was.
I couldn't,
That's the
it was
crusher,
some type
yeah.
of equipment.
Okay, now
Yep.
I remember, yep.
Damn, you got a good memory.
It's equipment.
Yeah, anything equipment related, Eric's the guy. Okay, so there, Mr. Kelly is recommending the CMAS budget in the amount of $1,250,786 compared to what was originally budgeted last year in the amount of $1,162,486. So it's a 7.5% increase, mainly due to contractual increases.
Make a motion.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? No discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Anyone opposed? Okay, so the CMAS budget is recommended in the amount of $1,250,786. All right, let's go to snow and ice. We had a pretty easy year this year.
Shh. Did you just say that?
Yeah, it's over.
April
It's-
Do we not remember the April Fool's
Yeah.
blizzard?
It's, I'm saying it's over.
Right.
It's over.
It's over.
We'll say that.
All right, so we're budgeted 110,000, same as last year.
Make a motion.
Second.
Any discussion on snow and ice?
How, do you know where we stand now?
We are below, but not by a lot.
And we still have to buy another, refill the
Refill
sand, right?
it.
Is that including the bonus?
Yeah.
Does that include the what, I'm sorry?
The bonus for the people that.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay,
Oh,
So
we
we're
have-
not gonna have extra to come back, but we're not gonna have to,
Well,
Go
we
into-
might have a little bit come back, but not a lot.
yeah.
You gotta remember that it's not the snow that is
It's the sand.
costly, it's the ice.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's the sand.
I mean, we only had, off the top of my head, what, like 2 storms, right? where we
Yeah,
had
but a
to
lot
send
of
out the
black
sanders?
ice, and when it gets black ice, they gotta go out with the sanders.
And you
Yeah.
gotta remember, if the ice is there, and before the school buses go out, you have to
Sand.
take care of it.
Yeah. Okay, so I think we had a motion and a second. No further discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, so snow and ice is recommended in the amount of 110,000.
Mhm.
Next, I have cemeteries. That's usually typically a small budget.
Mhm.
It's level funded with last year's budget in the amount of $6,789,000.
Motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? No discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? No one opposed. So cemetery budget is recommended in the amount of $6,789. All right, next budget looks like Board of Health.
I'd ask that we,
Hold, you want to hold that one, okay? Okay, next would be Council on Aging. Mr. Kelly, we holding that one, or we're good? Okay, so let's take a look at this one. So we can see that it's decreased by approximately $32,000. The decreases are mainly due to
moving the custodial
the light, right,
into the town building.
and then technology. There's 3 line items. The telephone is moving into technology. The alarm service is going into town buildings. And internet is also being consolidated with the technology budget. So those are I believe, the main differences in this budget.
Yeah, the only other adjustment is a $400 for longevity, which is
That's,
contractual.
yeah,
Yep. So it's basically level funded.
yeah. So I think this is pretty self-explanatory.
Mhm. I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Abstain.
We've got one abstention. No one's opposed. Okay, so the Council on Aging budget is recommended in the amount of $131,862. Next up is Veterans. This is level funded with last year in the amount of $217,217.
Make a motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? No discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
No one's opposed. Veterans Services is funded in the amount of $217,217. Okay, next up is Library. Mr. Kelly, any anticipated adjustments? You know, the janitorial part-time custodian that was moved to town building?
Yep. There wouldn't be any, with this new, I just had to check, there wouldn't be any for this new MOU coming
So if we go back to when Dina came in and presented their budget, and they've been asking for this for the last couple of years. So the increase that we see in their salaries originally appropriated last year was $224,542. The request this year is $232,711 because they want to be able to take that part-time employee and make her full-time
In the children's room.
in the children's room.
Yep. I think we should support that.
I make a motion.
It's a small increase. We have a motion.
Second.
And there's a second. Any further discussion? And if we want to discuss this a little bit further, under expenses, their expenses actually decreased compared to last year. So the town administrator recommendation is set at $294,257 compared to last year where it was at $287,779. So it's just a modest increase of 2.25%. The library, does a very good job. They never really ask us for anything above and beyond their operating budget. They've put in this request for the last couple of years. So I think we should go forward with this.
Agreed.
So we have a motion and a second, correct?
Yes.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Anyone opposed? No opposition? Okay, so the library budget is being recommended in the amount of $294,267.92 to be exact. I can't remember if I was including change amounts in some of the recommendations. I think most of them didn't have arbitrary change amount there. Okay, next one is tab number 26, Park and Rec. So when Chad came in originally, one of our first hearings, gave us some good detail of what they were looking to do. So the board of recommendation, the board of selectmen recommendation, as well as town administrator, is in the amount of $49,967 compared to what was originally budgeted last year in the amount of $48,777. 667. So just a small increase by a little over $1,000.
Make a motion.
We have a motion.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
It looks like the only increases are contractual,
Yep.
so.
And I think he's gonna be presenting an article, correct, Mr. Kelly?
Well, it's the Board of Selectmen's article.
The
It's,
summer youth program?
it's Youth Employment Services Program. Yes, program.
Okay.
And it's for $30,000 out of free cash, similar to the senior work-off, but it gives the youth an opportunity during the seasonal months to be employed either with Park and Rec or with DPW, and it gives them an opportunity to earn some money.
Like a CEDAR program, right, years ago?
What's the age limit on that?
Well, for DPW, it would have to be 18. For Parks and Rec, it can be 16.
I think we have a motion and a second on this, correct? No further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, no opposition. So the Park and Rec Department budget. Let's do, I guess we'll do recreation separately from park because it's two separate amounts. So the recreation amount is for $22,850 under rec, and under park it is $49,967. So did we get all in favor? Can we do that? Anyone opposed? I'm losing track here, I'm sorry. All right, so what's, all
You're doing a
recommended?
great
Okay.
job.
All right, let's see here. Mr. Kelly, anything with historical, I mean, it looks pretty similar to last year, it's up by $800.
There's some sign restoration work here. We also have an article for $1,000 for repair and maintenance of historical signs. This is, the $500 is targeted for a couple that we have to restore versus just repair and maintenance.
Okay, so it's in the amount of $7,800. Last year appropriated was $7,000.
Make a motion.
Energy is the other issue there.
Yeah, so energy was up by 300. Okay, so we have a motion, was there a second?
Second.
A motion and a second, any further discussion on historical commission? No further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, so the historical commission budget is recommended in the amount of $7,800. All right, next up, we have retirement of debt. So, we have the amount, the Board of Selectmen recommendation and Town Administrator recommendation is set at $320,000 compared to last year, which was at $372.
That's the principal.
Right.
So the ambulance is paid off this year? And how long do we have left on the police station? I know we've got a long time, right? But how long before school renovations? Do we know how long?
I can get you the chart with all of it.
That would be great.
Make a motion.
We have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second, any further discussion? No.
I'm so sorry.
Yep.
I apologize. Short-term interest, school roof, 61,000.
The short, is
That-
that the short-term interest?
Yeah, short-term interest for the school roof, but there's no principal being paid down on that.
It's
so
a
we're still-
ban.
It's the ban, okay, thank you. That's what
Are you voting
We're doing
all
these-
of it
we're
as
doing
one,
these
or are you
separate.
gonna do it separate?
I think we should do them separate because each one has a number attached to it. So retirement of debt is number 710. Let's do that one separate. That was for the amount of 320,000. We had a motion and a second. I believe we're all in favor.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so the next one would be long-term debt interest, debt service. That's number 751. That's recommended in the amount of 111,080. Is it 85 or 35?
35.
35, okay. Compared to last year, it was at 125,673. Any discussion on this one? Well, the interest from the ambulance is gone because that's paid off, so.
Make a motion.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, so long-term debt interest is recommended in the amount of $111,035. The next one is short-term debt interest, which is designated 752. So this one has to do with the school roof. And so what is, Mr. Kelly, so that, the amount is 61,250, correct?
Mhm.
Yes,
That's
that's
it,
what
okay.
they had.
Mhm.
Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So the short-term debt interest at 61,250 is recommended. So the total debt service for all three, retirement of debt, long-term and short-term, comes out to $431,035.
Wait a minute.
That's the total, right, of all of them added up? Does that come?
Can you repeat the figure?
The retirement of debt, long-term debt, and short-term, I have in front of me a total of $431,35.
It doesn't include the short-term debt.
No.
Also, it doesn't.
Does not. Short-term debt.
492,
285.
Also, that number didn't include that. Okay, so
No,
what's the?
it's not footing. You can see that the 61 never goes anywhere. The spreadsheet itself
Is it on
doesn't
the
foot.
next page?
Oh, unless maybe it's to continue on.
No, it's a duplicate. It's the same thing.
Okay,
No, the short-term debt section does not foot, so
right,
it's
so what's-
492,285.
492,285. You got that, Kathy? All right. All right, so we're good with that. On to, I think pension. So contributory pensions.
Sorry, but Mr. Kelly, is the fact that that wasn't in any of the totals impact any of the numbers we've talked about as far as balance?
It's on mine.
It's, okay, as long as it's on the master, it's all that matters. Sorry.
No problem. All right, so pensions are in the amount of $1,949,235. That is up compared to last year, which was originally budgeted at $1,828,836. So
You're
it's-
going to see 100,000 and change increase each year over the next so many years. 102, 104, 106. And that's because they're trying to get fully funded by 2035.
Is there a motion?
Make a motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on pensions? No further discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so the pensions are recommended in the amount of $1,949,235.
I'd ask the insurances be
I
held.
was gonna say that, or should I let?
All right, so we're holding health insurance.
And liability.
So Medicare, insurance, health insurance, so we're holding all
Yep.
that. Okay. All right, we do have the last budget I have in here, which is not listed in the tabs, is golf. I know there's been quite a bit of discussion with golf from the Board of Selectmen, and I think they still have some questions, I would imagine, so I think we should hold this one as well. So we're gonna hold golf. I'm just gonna put golf down as number 30 in our, like in our tabs.
I'll get you some tabs because the mine is 31.
Ah, okay.
I think it's just not on the, in
Yeah,
that
it's not on the
index.
index.
Yeah,
That's
it
all.
wasn't on the index.
We have a 31 tab, just there's
Yeah, no,
nothing
yeah,
assigned
that's
to it. So 31 should be golf.
We've got some good binders this year, so we're good. All right, so I want to go back, and it looks like, so we held the FinCom budget, Board of Selectmen, Town Accountant, Town Treasurer, Technology, Town Clerk, Planning, Police, Schools, Highway, Board of Health, and Health Insurance and Golf. So we're still gonna have some work to do next week. Hopefully we can solidify things and, you know, make our recommendations on the majority of these next week, because we're gonna be running out of time. And we also face the issue of having a quorum at times. So tonight we got lucky, we have a quorum, but we have a couple members not here tonight, and, you know, we have Sue's a very busy CPA, and coming up to the tax deadline, you know, her availability might be limited, to say the least, correct?
Is going to be, for
So,
sure.
so we want to get as much of this done as we can next week while we still have Sue here. So that's part of the objective. Does anybody,
If any member wants to, has a question and wants to send it to me, I can pass it through to department heads if you're thinking of something over the next couple of days.
all right, everybody got that? I think that's a good idea. You know, in case we can't get somebody into our meeting,
Yeah.
we can reach out through Mr. Kelly if anybody has any questions, and then he can contact the appropriate department head and get us whatever, you know, answer we're looking for.
Would you rather invite the chief for next week?
I'm going to be talking to him anyway, but if you'd like to tell him your concerns,
Oh, I can.
I mean,
Okay, I will.
the more he hears about that particular concern.
Okay.
Well, if the chief has time and he can come in, then let's have him come in. You know, I mean, if for some reason he's too busy and you want to get, you know, the information through Mr. Kelly, and we can do that too. But, you know, have the conversation with the chief and then go from there.
Sounds like a plan.
All right, so we have been here for almost 2 hours tonight. Went by actually pretty quick, don't you think? I was gonna say, it doesn't seem like we've been here that long.
Time flies when you're having fun.
So we do have, we have articles here too. So I think what I would recommend is, let's if we get a chance, well, hopefully we'll have a chance this week to review these articles on our own at home. Some of these are just boilerplate, standard articles that we're gonna vote on anyway. Take a look at some of the other ones that you might have questions on, and then we can address those next week.
And you're gonna have the
Deficit
figures.
article, we're still trying to get a handle on that. Past year bills, that's the amount that we've seen so far. Consent agenda, you pretty much know what that is. Reserve accounts, that's what we're putting into the various stabilization accounts from free cash. The capital is all free cash except CPC funds. Senior work off is free cash for 20. Youth work program, or the YES program, is 30. Firefighter collective bargaining agreement, we used 12,000 out of ARPA for the signing bonus. We've got a age restriction exemption article. I'm still doing the research on it to see if it's actually necessary. It's for the assistant chief and the call firefighters.
Isn't that set by statute?
The statute seems to go to firefighters and call firefighters who contribute to a retirement system. That's what we're trying to clarify.
So that was a big issue here a number of years ago. There was several forced retirements
Yep.
because of the age, and it caused a significant morale problem within the department.
Yeah, you can go for a home rule petition and get an age exemption if they're part of a retirement system. If they're not, and they're the part-time call, and they're not, I believe, part of the EMS, then there's a question whether it might, and it looks like it would just be the town meeting approving the exemption. I wish it was that easy for all of us.
Right.
The assessors have an article increasing the gross receipts limits for real estate tax exemptions. They haven't done it in a number of years. And you can imagine inflation has eaten into that considerably. And then their potential zoning amendment, the stormwater bylaw amendment, oh, I've got two N's there, and soil bylaw amendment.
So we got that one complete, they got it in there. Because I know there were some issues with that, right?
Stormwater there was,
Yeah.
there still is. But the soil bylaw town councils, there was a tweak that had to be done because there was a differentiation between actual mining versus taking loam or soil, gravel off a surface area versus going actually down and mining.
Mr. Kelly, when will you need the finance committee letter from me? That's gonna go into the.
Last week?
No, like you wanted it last week.
No pressure, no pressure.
As soon as you want to give it to me, I'll put it in the draft. As you can see, we're building it now.
Okay, so I had at least a week, right?
Oh, sure.
Okay.
2 if you count last week.
All right, I wanna get paid overtime for this one, you know?
Talk to the
That's
chief about that.
Yeah.
That's easy math,
Right?
because any number times zero is
Yeah,
always
that's
going to
right.
be,
0 times 0.
is always zero.
All right, I think we've done enough for tonight. It's been a long day for all of us. So I think, I'm confident we can get this wrapped up next week, you know? And that'll be good because we don't usually finish this whole process at the end of March. So it'd be kind of nice to do that. And, yeah, that we have a little respite. You know, we started this, in early January, right? And these months have just flown by. You know, I mean, January, February, March, we're already at the end of March. So, all right, anyway, anybody have any old business they want to discuss? Any new business? Okay, we do have a set of minutes to approve from March 1st, 2023. In attendance at this meeting was myself, Sue, Pete Benoit, Eric Chu, and Bob Ferraro. Absent was Eric McGlynn and Mr. St. Jean.
Make a motion?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, minutes are approved. Next meeting date, next week, and it looks like we're gonna be at the town hall, correct?
I hope so.
So if there's a change, we'll be notified.
Motion to adjourn. Second.
We have a motion to adjourn in a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.
Good night.